So I've started working to get this top side, which would be the table side of the saddle, flat. I've relieved the center section here, just rough scrape that out, and I've started to, this is turkite, and I've started to check the surface finish here, and I'm a little bit concerned. I started going to a smaller scraper, and I put more and more radius on the bottom of it, and I think what's happening is I'm getting smaller and deeper grooves, and I'm a little bit concerned about the actual bearing surface. So what I've done is I've gone back to my larger scraper with a larger radius, and I'm trying to I'm going to run one cycle here and try and see what happens, trying to get it out, what the bearing quality looks like, how much surface area on the high points do I have. So with the table ways flat on the other side now, I decided I got a couple things I still have to do. Is I got to check perpendicularity to the back face, make sure that's good, and then I need to work this surface parallel to the table surface, which I'm checking with an indicator here and a 1, 2, 3 block, just to take up for any kind of issues with this turkite, although it's fairly flat at this point, just the way I got it back. And right now I've got a 0 point over here. I'm plus a half at this end, 2.5 here, and 3 here. So I've got to tip it this way, and then a little bit that way. Actually, that half thou is there relative to that, so there's a half thou going this way, and there's 3 thou. This is sorry, 2.5 thou. This one here is high. So I hope that makes sense, that because this is 0 and plus a half, and this is 2.5 and 3, that half thou is there, which is this way. And then from here to here, there's only 2.5 that I got to take out. So next step is I'm going to verify that I've still got the table surface perpendicular to the back edge of the saddle here. So I've been working away on the bottom of the saddle, and as the top was flat and was a good bearing surface, now the point was to make the bottom parallel to the top, and so I've been scraping this in and spotting it, and I had some initial measurements, and I started working towards straightening that out. And then at this point now I'm just using the a 1, 2, 3 block as a flat surface. And so that's running about a plus a half. Down here in this corner it's running about plus 1.5, and over here I was plus 0.5, and over here this is where I zeroed over here. So the next step will be to kind of concentrate on those high spots, in particular this corner here, which is plus 1.5 at this point. So I'll concentrate a little bit of scraping over here. Won't scrape anything at that corner, which will start to tip it and straighten it out, get it parallel to the top surface. So to this point I've been able to get the two flatways, the one that contacts the knee and the one that will eventually contact the table. I've got those parallel now, flat surface both sides. And what I'm checking right now is I'm checking the fixed way for the saddle for the Y movement in and out of the column. So I've got the cylindrical square set up on the surface plate. I've got the back of the saddle down, which is a datum I'm trying to use, and I'm just been using this homemade block here. So this pin rides on the fixed way, this flat rides on the flat way. And right now I'm just trying to maintain a constant pressure as I move this, which is not the easiest thing to do. It looks like I'm within a thou. This is just a 1 thou indicator right now. Yeah, it's all. Oh. Back to the drawing board. It's moving on me. I gotta secure it so as I'm trying to push into the way that I don't move the actual saddle. So right now it's not in frame here because I'm trying to get a shot of the indicator as I come down to the bottom. So I'm holding pressure on the two ways, the flat way and the fixed way, and I'm just going to bring this gauge down. So this is just a 1 thou indicator right now, so it's bouncing around a little bit, but it's inside of a thou right now. So I think at this point I'm going to switch over to a tenths indicator and see what's going on. So I've got the same setup going here now. The only thing is I've got a tenths indicator on here. And yeah, it's going to come out of frame. It's hard to film it, but it's zero this down here. About 6/10. And this surface, the actual fixed way side here, so what I'm going to do now is double check it for contact angle with the knee. Make sure that I have full contact across the whole make sure I have full contact across the whole bearing surface, and just make sure I've got a good bearing surface on that, and then we're going to call that good, and then we'll start working on the fixed way side for the table. So on the fixed way here, I scraped probably maybe six cycles. Got a pretty good surface, and then I realized the oil groove was pretty light. Yeah, that's not going to show up, but so I went through and scraped it's like a gouging effect. Just a high-speed steel tool bit. Just put a little radius and just worked away at it and got a fair good sized groove in there now. And then I scraped, I think, 5 cycles after that, just to make sure all the edges around the oil groove are good and flat, and the surface is coming out good there. And one thing that happened with the oil groove getting bigger, the back of my gauge here, the pin is hitting the oil grooves in a couple of spots, so I was able to get a good feel both top and bottom. I'm pretty sure I'm inside of about, I'm going to say 4/10 now from top to bottom up against the cylindrical square, so I'm going to call that a wrap on that side. And so the next thing now will be to start roughing in the I got a new gib. I want to rough it in, make sure I've got enough material. With all the changes I've made, I may need to put a little bit of turkite on it as well. So that'll be the next step then, is start to get the gib set up for this saddle. What I find is it's very hard to simulate the part moving up against the ways without a good gib. That contact gives you the ability to move the part and have a true understanding of the geometry of the joint. So that's where we're headed next.